right. If you're just joining us, we're going to wait a minute or two for a few more attendees and we'll get started. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for attending our webinar today. My name is Ashley Limbers and I'm the marketing lead here at Encompass Solutions. At Encompass, we specialize in ERP consulting and implementation to help manufacturers solve challenges, streamline their operations, and help drive growth. And as a premier partner of Epicor, we deliver tailored ERP solutions that empower businesses to succeed. We are headquartered in North Carolina, and we have been in business we're celebrating 25 years this year. We had just over 40 staff members around the globe, and our focus is on manufacturing and distribution, primarily using Epicor software. And one characteristic that makes Encompass Solutions stands out is that we're very partner focused. We have almost 20 years of experience selling Epicor software while being part of their premier partner program. And we have a certified team of consultants that partner with businesses like yours to help with ERP implementations, software enhancements, customizations, and reporting. And today we're exploring turning Epicor into a decision engine presented by David Sullivan. And just a few things before we get started. Today's webinar is being recorded, and a copy of that recording will be emailed to you. And if you have any questions during the presentation, please type those into the question box in your Zoom control panel, and we'll bring them up during the end during our Q&A session. And we also encourage you to take the survey after today's event. Our speaker today is David Sullivan. He is our SE with a decade of experience at Encompass Solutions, helping our clients grow their businesses and drive costs down using the power of their Epicor ERP systems. And before that, he was an Epicor consultant and systems administrator. So he really understands how these new features we'll hear about help your company. So now, without further ado, David, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Great. Thank you, Ashley. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. This is actually one of my very favorite topics. Ashley mentioned I spent 4 years as a customer and I ended up as their director of technical services. And the first year I got in control of the Epicor system, we built 300 reports and queries and dashboards because the business had been starving for information. And we looked at this ERP system and kind of I threw this image together and the way I see a lot of companies operate, and it's part of a transition of utilizing the software better and better. But in the early days, we have so many manual processes and decisions that are being driven by tribal knowledge. People just intuitively know when it's time to reorder or when seasonal trends are happening. Antiquated systems that are kind of patched together, a lot of spreadsheets, lots of paper reports. And so we have this dynamic where leadership in the company can't make great decisions, or they make good decisions, but they don't have all the information they need. Is it time to hire new people and bring them in? Does the business need more equipment and machinery to grow and expand? Are you serving your customers well? Right? Are they happy with shipping time and quality and performance? And so we have this situation where from the top level, we don't have the vision we need to make all of those adequate decisions. The manager level, the people who probably could give the best advice are typically swamped and overrun. And then we have production issues where people don't know what to work on and they're not sure if they'll have materials available to even start the jobs that are scheduled. And so it's just a dysfunctional setup, but the Epicor system itself can handle things so much better. And that's kind of what I'm thinking of with this little satellite, right? When we think about the servers and all the planning tools and all the business intelligence that's in the system, it's there ready for you to take action on it. It's just a matter of applying it and how do we get from an earlier stage where we haven't taken advantage of all those key performance indicators and research tools to a point where we really can make informed decisions quickly, effectively. Basically, how can we do it now? What we're going to cover today is I'm actually going to talk about what's in the system right now. These are all things that are available to you. You could, leave this session right now and go play with them and implement them today, right? There are lots and lots of tools that don't require extensive train up or setup and training. So we're going to do a general survey so you understand the kind of tools we're talking about. And then we're going to look at kind of on an executive level, what are some examples? What might that be like? Answering common questions. We'll look at kind of the managerial level and down to the production level. And so it's not really a feature walkthrough. I'm not doing a training event today, but we just want to show you how Epicor is meant to support both the shop floor and the executive suite. So, in terms of what's already in the system, and we're going to go through each of these, we're starting with Grow BI. This is not out of the box available. It's an add-on, and it's an incredibly powerful tool. And we're going to look at what it is and what it does. And it may not even be the right time for you to look at Grow, but it is very powerful. And so I think it's a good thing to know about in the back of your mind. If you are at that point where you're ready to move forward with business intelligence driving decisions for you, that'd be a great time to talk to Robert Edson, your account manager, and start looking at what it might be like to roll something like that out. We're then going to look at data discovery. And so this is Grow's little brother. There are some limitations. It doesn't have the full feature set, but these are all built in right now today. Generic key performance indicators and trackers that you could throw onto your screens in a few minutes. We'll talk briefly about classic reporting, what's available in Epicor, and what you can build for yourself. Dashboards, which are kind of that Microsoft Excel view of your system. And then underneath it, what's under there, queries and business activity, BAQs. I didn't update this slide. We're not talking about AI tools today. That will be, watch the space. I'm sure we'll cover that again in the future and understand that we're going to look at the technology, but this is basically a team function, right? From the executive to management to the producer level, there is a right blend for your organization, and Epicor's put lots of those tools in your hand, ready to go. So we'll go in and talk about Grow BI. So this is really Epicor's premier business intelligence platform. What it allows you to do is connect your system to up to, I think it's 150 built-in connections. So you can connect it to Salesforce and your CRM system and lots of third-party tools that you may need to integrate, external data sources, things that are local, things that are in the cloud. And so it connects to everything. It brings them all together in an integration, and it allows you to create really phenomenal, easy to understand and actionable graphs, charts, pictures, things that let you make a snap decision because you see the full picture. And really that's what gets us to that executive level intelligence. So what these might look like, you're going to see some similarities. These do look similar to what we're going to see with the built-in out of the box tools. But they're pulling on different data. So this data is not only coming from the Epicor system, it's coming from other things. So we see Salesforce leads by group. It's got some kind of an integration that it's pulling in data directly from the Salesforce platform. And that's the power of Grow, right? Not only does it give you really great the ability to visualize your data in wonderful ways, but it allows you to integrate and pull all of that together. And so that's what the distinguishing feature is. It's sort of a view of your system combined with all the systems that are outside of Kinetic ERP. But there's a lot of these metrics that are built in, and they're called EDD, Epicor Data Discovery. We can help you with that. Epicor Learning Center has some self-paced classes that things are essentially ready to go and to install. So as we kind of move into the next section, we're going to talk about those. We're going to look at role-based desktops. And how can you change your Epicor homepage to make it more effective for you? Because you don't need to see the same things that your colleagues look at every day. And even if you're looking at the same tool, you may have a slightly different perspective on them. So we'll look at role-based desktops that can be personalized. And essentially everything we're looking at is ready to walk in, sign in, execute, use it right now. So let's talk about a functional Epicor screen. So when you installed your system, when you went through implementation, Pilot came with a very basic desktop when you signed into your Epicor home screen. And it basically was just tiles that you click and they launch a program you might want to use. That's all personalizable. We can put charts, we can put data grids, we can put all sorts of things on that home view to make it really tailored to what you want to see. So in this case, this is an inventory one. They're looking at parts on hand that are available, quantity on hand, and then the ability to jump and look at and track some data. So we have the KPIs, and those are fantastic for visuals. We're going to move on now and talk about the next tool in Epicor's Business Intelligence Suite, and it's really one of the older ones. Um, Classic reporting. Sometimes you don't need pictures, sometimes you don't need graphs. This is a learning style issue. Some people are very visual, some people want to see tables of data. But Epicor has 250, 300 built-in reports that are designed to help you drill in and figure out what you're looking for. And so this lets us have pre-formatted, clean reports that can be sent to customers or suppliers. You can use them for yourselves. They're very reliable, they're very consistent, the backbone of daily reporting. And so all of those tools are available, and then you have the ability to create and build your own. And so we're really talking about, the day in the life data that you want to just grab something quickly, hand it off on the shop floor, and it's an appropriate use of paperwork, right? So those tools are all there. And even though they're older and they're not as fancy, I still rely on them heavily. A dashboard in Epicor is a slightly different tool. So it does rely on the same underlying data that might feed into a Grow BI or a data discovery KPI. Same query could be used to write a report, but in the dashboard format, it gets displayed as a menu item. It's there on the menu, and they work very much like an Excel sheet, except they're generated from Epicor. You don't need to export. There's no need for manual updates. You can, display it on your screen. External monitors. I see a lot of shops where they've got big monitors throughout and being able to display something like today's shipments for the shipping team or late jobs. Or I've seen a couple companies that put revenue numbers out there, right? We're trying to ship X number of dollars per day, and the team joins together in working toward that. So the Excel format is fantastic. It's a really useful way of looking at data, but you don't have to have those things tracked and managed and updated outside of the system. Epicor can generate them for you. And that's one of the things we do pretty frequently during implementations is how do we take that external sheet that is critical? Everyone depends on it to make decisions every day, but how can we make that something that comes from the system instead of being generated outside? So I used the phrase earlier, BAQ, a business activity query, and that's Epicor's query building tool. And everything we're looking at starts there. This is a more complicated one. You can see there's 8 tables in here. That's almost unheard of. Most questions you might want to answer come from one table, maybe two, and the system knows how they're all joined together. So um, think of your ability to quickly create a query to answer a question. Um, that's a critical ability in business. You can't plan and prepare for every question that'll ever come up, and so we highly encourage people to learn this skill themselves, right? Because you can ask anything that's in the system. It's a relatively easier skill to learn. It's definitely teachable. It's a visual interface. You don't have to do any programming. You don't have to know anything about databases really, other than how to put together and say, hey, I want information from my order, but I also want my customer's address to show up. And so two tables join together and you create the output. So I just want to understand that. And when we talk about business intelligence, things like Grow BI get a lot of attention, and the data discovery widgets get a lot of attention. But at the end of the day, it's great to be able to quickly go in and answer a question, just write a query, don't even save it, or to build out and expand on your own tools. Because yeah, so basically, yeah, we're looking for real-time data. If we're pulling data that's a week, if it's a week old, you're already behind. So that kind of lets you know the tool set that's available to you, the queries, the reports, the dashboards, and the data discovery are available today. You could go back to your desktop, start playing around and adding them to your home page. We're going to now move on and look at more use cases. So I did some research. I talked to people I know. I did some research online. The kinds of questions at that top executive level that I'm hearing is I just don't have the ability to pull a query right now, meaning I can't have a question pop up and get an answer to it easily. Lots of people have issues on the executive level, just not having that big picture, that high level view where you can see the relationship between financials and purchasing, which is going to be checks that you have to write in 30 days, inventory and production schedules, and how all of that plays together in shipping on time to your customers. Um, People talk about growth, and I see this in a lot of organizations, but the management system's not growing with it, meaning you got to a certain point, but the tools, the skills, the activities you use to get there won't carry you through to the next $10 million. Decisions with outdated or old data, poor visibility, and then practical questions. If we enter this order, are we actually going to be able to ship it on time? And so those are kind of high level at that executive level. That's really what we're talking about is big picture questions. We'll look at a couple of scenarios here, use cases, and in that process, we'll keep looking at these tools. What does it actually look like on a given day when you're using the business intelligence? So this is literally out of the box. I have a demo database, and this layout comes with the demo database, right? And so this is sort of a financial view. We're looking at gross margin trending year over year. That is a grow metric. On the upper right corner, the top five customers um, by percent in total charges is a data discovery widget. And there's a little tiny clue. There's a clickable square with an arrow pointing out of it in the discovery widgets. Those allow you to click, and you can even drill in and find out what specific records are driving what you're seeing on the screen. But this is sort of the view that we would build. And so if you're a CEO, CFO, upper management, you're going to log in. And in this case, on this screen, we've got multiple views, different dashboard panels that are here displaying different kinds of information. But at the end of the day, a couple of links to the programs that are needed, the key visuals that you need to understand trending, because in many cases you're asking easy yes, no questions. You want to know, are we doing good? Are we not doing good? Are things slipping? Are things growing? And that's what a well-crafted homepage will give you. And you can have an infinite number of these. Other views that we talked about that question, can we keep our promises to our customers? Can we take this order in today? Will we hit the ship date? What are the problems we're going to run into? So these are all out of the box available to you. The first one on the left, we're actually seeing a graphical map that has little dots. Those are color coding, and yellow and red are bad. Blue is good. But you can actually have a view of your shop floor and understand, do we have any bottlenecks that are happening? Do we have any machines that are down? Do we have any machines where they're not performing the way they should? We're getting much less output through them. Do we have any machines where there's more work scheduled than they'll actually be able to do? We can look at things like job status and down to in the bottom right corner, depending on what configurations you have. But if you have IoT devices, those can actually feed into Epicor. And so you can see, hey, all of our product runs through these machines. Here's our status on all of our current orders, and here's our status on the equipment itself. So easier way of answering the question than the old days where someone might be jumping between 20 and 30 screens and reading lots of paperwork. Then we look into sort of precognition. Epicor can predict the future. Don't use that to bet on the Super Bowl, but almost everything in your business is in fact predictable. You know when things are supposed to ship. You know how long it takes for your materials to arrive from your suppliers. Your engineers know how long it takes to build things. Maintenance knows when preventative maintenance is due, quality knows when testing has to happen. There are all of these pools of knowledge, and they are in employees' heads, and they are in separate modules in the system. But using the business intelligence tools, pulling it together, that gives us the view, the ability to predict the future. So what we're looking at here is basic quality control stuff, a list of non-conformances, parts that have passed, parts that have failed inspection. So as soon as you start having red flags thrown in the warehouse, you can click, drill down, and that essentially gives you that warning. Other types of things that are built in would be warnings about material shortfall when you have production jobs that you're not going to be able to run because you don't have the materials. A lot of stuff in the accounting area. Are you late on any of your bills? Are your customers late? Is anyone approaching credit limit? There are lots of warning flags that can be thrown to let you make a better decision, proactively work on something today rather than waiting for it to blow up and become a crisis. Um, I, I, I don't remember if we mentioned it or not. Folks, if you have questions, please feel free to throw those in chat. Ashley can kind of watch over them and we'll talk about those at the end. There's a period of time set aside for questions and answers. But feel free to do that, and that way we'll record it and we'll remember the question and come back to it later. So far, we were really looking at more of the executive level, people that need to make large directions about the organization, capital expense decisions, question about staffing. Are we going to hire more people? Now we're getting down to more of the management of the operation and the feedback. Things like the warehouse visibility is just terrible. We can't respond quickly because we don't have good real-time data. We don't even know what to do when for example, a supplier issue comes up. Juggling and rejuggling plans. I see this with schedulers all the time. You leave the building, on a Friday night, you walk in Monday morning, and suddenly you have to redo everything that happened. And those are difficult questions to ask or to answer. What happens if I move customer A to the machine today and give them the raw materials? When is customer B going to be satisfied? And if I move those things around, what ripple effects is that going to send through the whole business? Data access is a common complaint, and I should say these are not Epicor complaints. These are just general complaints or concerns, focus areas in the industry. Very difficult to get reports created and the financial data not lining up with the operations data. And so those are the kinds of scenarios and challenges that that Epicor is built to solve. And again, my simple message is you've got almost all of these tools available. You've already paid for them. There's no reason not to use them. So on the management level, we're looking here at like job status, actual cost, job cost exceptions, right? When you're trying to drive production, you're clearly trying to get things produced in time to ship to the customer, but they also need to be effective and profitable. And the idea being that when you come into your particular homepage, you should be able to click through a couple of tabs and quickly see if there are any issues or problems that need your attention. Because the system happens real time, all of these tools update in real time. It gives you that ability to be flagged early so that you can watch for problems before they arise. And the kind of problems that might happen if you're looking at job costs going crazy, it could be as simple as someone forgot to clock out of a job. They let it run overnight. It could be that you were forced to do material substitutions and it's going to cost you a lot more to produce that, which then impacts your margin. And there's this whole conversation that needs to happen. But the primary idea being that if you go through and as you're designing your system, right, collaborating together, all of those views really need to come into coming up with one cohesive set of business intelligence that you're going to track. This is another, there's actually three or four different ways to visualize a shop floor. There's also a warehouse map. Um, One of the common questions, where are we losing hours? Now, that could be because um, it's taking too long to produce your product. It could also be things are down. You're having maintenance issues, which takes whole pieces of equipment or departments offline. It could be a employee inefficiency. But the idea is that if we can visualize your warehouse, right, and just use the tool that's there and you do a little bit of setup so you can start tracking performance and know what machines are running, what jobs are running on them. I can't click and drill here in the PowerPoint, but all of these are interactive and you can click and drill down. If you notice you've got a couple of gray items on the board, go look at it, click them, see what's going on, what is scheduled for that piece of equipment. It could be perfectly appropriate that it's sitting around idle, but as a good manager, you need to know and you need to be able to make that decision. And as we kind of look at that, there are lots of surprises that I see in the real world, the real production arena. Organizations where they literally don't know what they're going to build until 8:15, 9 o'clock in the morning, right? It's a complicated question of what needs to ship, what machines are available, what equipment is available, what materials are available. And so as you're building out your own KPI systems, you'll be looking at things like on-hand parts, jobs with material shortfalls, late deliveries from suppliers, right? Those are all the kinds of surprises that will cause a lot of inefficiency. If you pull and if you go pull and stage half the material you need to build something, you've done maybe some setup on some equipment, you've now lost real-time labor hours, right? It costs you money to do those things. And if you can't run that job that day, not only did you lose the cost of the labor, but you also lost productive time on the machine. And so, kind of at that management level, that's what we're looking at is going through and eliminating those surprises and the setup times. So, what is it? What's happening out on the shop floor? Obviously, people want to be able to do their work. They don't want interruptions. They don't want frustrations of having to constantly stop. So, the kinds of questions they're looking at are what should they be working on right now? And Epicor has a great scheduling engine that can deliver that to them. Um, and there's some tools for doing that, but there are lots of other questions to, again, along the lines of finding barriers that would stop them from starting production. What can I pick and ship right now? Right? If you've got someone in the shipping department, they're trying to build pallets and fill trucks, what orders can they go with right now where everything is available so they're not wasting any time or having to touch that order two, three times? Where are goals being hit and where are goals falling short? Why is production taking too long? Not just which production took too long, but being able to analyze and understand why it happened and find solutions. And then again, that ever-present question, do I have everything I need today, right now, to start right now? So kind of looking at the kinds of tools that might solve for some of those, that parts on hand availability just lets us know it's okay to queue up and get started with a particular production job. The system has other tools like the production planner workbench. There's lots of stuff built in, but when you can walk in and it's right there in your desktop and you scroll up and down, in 2 minutes, you've made a decision, and then that would be kind of at the lead level, sometimes at the operator level. And the good part of this is again, whether we started with grow business intelligence or um, Epicor data discovery widgets, whether we're looking at reporting, we want to move as closely as possible to real-time reporting and information. So I pulled the slideshow before. There were nothing was shipped to do scheduled to ship that day, but we can do here a breakdown of carrier shipments, the received purchase orders, a list of customer shipments that have gone out, right? These are all things that operators use and track to kind of guide their daily behavior and what they're going to be working on next. They become targets and goals. Um, when I'm out in warehouses and factories, most people have some kind of a KPI board, right? You walk up to it and it does have charts and graphs. These are often done inside Excel. They're printed to paper, they're taped to the whiteboard. That whole thing could be replaced with one monitor showing an active homepage that's set up appropriately. So, so that's kind of what we want to move toward, and that's how Epicor helps you move your business forward and make better decisions, right? You don't have people looking at a KPI board where they have to walk across the warehouse and the paperwork is 4 days old. You can set up and configure things yourself so that they are good to go out of the box. Ashley, just so you understand, we're approaching the end of the presentation. So, folks, kind of wrapping things up. When we think about how a software system, an ERP system, can support your business, we're really talking about giving vision at the executive level, clarity that allow you to make quick decisions that you can take action on. And sort of where things fit is, the the executive sponsors are providing a fantastic ERP system, making sure you have all the hardware, the technology at that manager level. You're no longer working from stacks of paper or boards spread throughout the warehouse. You can sit down and in one view see everything that you need. And the end result is the throughput that goes to the shop floor, right? There's a huge benefit when people know what work to work on. All of the problems have been solved ahead of time. And so they can just show up and do their job. There's no hunting through the warehouse for parts that may or may not be there. And there's never that frustration of missing shipments because you couldn't get the right stuff made at the right time because you're making decisions based on old data or incomplete data. And Encompass wants to help you. We would very much like to see you succeed. And there's a number of ways that you can do that. Um, if you need the deeper level business intelligence tools and if you've got outside external data that you need to tie in with, and it's important for you to integrate between maybe you have two companies and you've got to bring one consolidated set of reports to the table. Talk to your account manager, and we can get you more information about that. If you have a smaller team and you don't have all the technical resources that you would like, Encompass can build things for you. We can partner up and design and deliver dashboards and the KPI infrastructure, reports, etc. We've got decades of experience doing it, and it's something that we enjoy very much. The main goal being to help you move your business forward so you're making the better decisions. If you don't know where you stand, right? Maybe you feel a little bit like the team at the building at the beginning of our conversation. There are things that you know that you need, you're not sure how to get there. And it's an ongoing process. Encompass can help you with that, a technical and business process review, where we sit down and help you map out and study all of your processes, start to finish, and make recommendations on how Epicor Kinetic can be improved to help your business, but also looking at um, the technology and the reporting. And so we have the team. You need the knowledge, and we also love working with you and training your internal team on how to use these tools. It's kind of a core philosophy for us, right? We want a long-term business relationship with you, but we're not about nickeling and diming, right? We think there are a lot of skills that you should have, so you can just sit down if you've got a question, someone on your team gives you that answer 5 minutes later without needing to go through us. But we're always there, happy to help you. We just very much want to work with your team as well and make sure that you're growing in those technical skills, kind of growing into the intelligence side of Epicor. I think at that point we can open up to some questions. Ashley, are you available?
Yes.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Jade.